Welcome to Group 2's presentation focusing on Oregon State University Foundation using text mining to explore the connection between event, feedback, and giving. My name is Jessica Wack-Alexander, and I will kick off the presentation and be joined throughout by my colleagues Blythe, Benjamin, and Ping. Let's get started with a brief agenda before diving in. We are going to start with an introduction of Oregon State University Foundation, later referred to as OSUF, then move on to a brief description of their business problem and targeted findings. We'll move on to our data description, followed by the methodology, results, and discussion for classification, association, and clustering analysis. We'll then end with conclusions and business recommendations, followed by a list of the contributions of each member. So let's talk more about OSUF. Oregon State University, OSUF, is a nonprofit organization that supports Oregon State University, OSU, with a mission to engage OSU community, inspire investment, and steward resources to enhance the university's excellence and impact. Strengthened by their mission, OSUF has 4 pillars to their strategic goals: raise funds in excess of $100 million per year, cultivate and steward a culture of philanthropy in the OSU community, manage an endowment of more than $500 million, and engage alumni in service to the university. But like any organization, OSUF is faced with several business problems. Especially with their ambitious goal of raising $100 million per year, OSUF is faced with the uncertainty of being able to continue identifying new donors and thus sources of income. Second, they must ensure their existing donors continue to donate year after year. As we know, it's more difficult to identify new donors than to keep current donors satisfied. As such, this step is especially important. Keeping donors satisfied means they may be more likely to maintain or increase their donations, specifically by ensuring donors feel involved and invested in OSU and that they are satisfied with how OSUF interacts with the community. Thus, it is vital that OSUF pay careful attention to donor comments regarding their experience. Specifically, OSUF leadership must use data mining results in various ways to determine if staffing needs are able to meet demands, if marketing efforts are able to successfully portray OSU positively, and that fundraising events are appreciated and meaningful in order to ensure donors want to continue donating to the foundation. Before diving into the data, let's briefly address the question we hope to find within our analysis. Can OSUF predict if donors will donate or not based on satisfaction observed through text analysis, and whether their giving will increase or decrease between fiscal years 2018 and 2019?
The data we used had 2 main components. There was event data and giving information. For the event, we had the title, who hosted, the date, overall score of the event, and comments. For giving, we had lifetime giving and whether they had given the previous fiscal year and/or the current fiscal year. In order to get our data ready for our analyses, several steps were required, including filling in missing values. We were missing some dates for some of the events, but because we had multiple responses for each of the events, we were able to fill in those missing dates. We also created several variables, including one that distinguished between athletic events and non-athletic events, regardless of who hosted. The overall score of the event was given to us on a nominal scale, so we created a new variable using an ordinal scale. We also created several variables in regards to giving. First, whether they were a donor at all or not. Then, whether they had given the previous year or not, whether they had given the current fiscal year or not, and then that change over time. Did it increase? Did it decrease? Or was there no giving at all? In order to get an idea of the overall sentiment being expressed, a lexicon-based sentiment analysis was used to differentiate between extreme positive and extreme negative sentences. Overall responses were mostly neutral to positive, ranging from -4 to 8. Surprisingly, the most positive comments came from those with decreased giving in the current fiscal year compared to the previous year. This could be due to the fact that the current year is still in process. Further analyses conducted included classification, association rules, and clustering.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Antolin. I will be going over the classification analysis for this portion of the project. Text classification is a supervised text mining process and can be described as the process of assigning predefined categories to the text that is being mined. This is a powerful tool to aid in organizing, structuring, and categorizing text data. For the OSUF dataset, we will look at the predefined labeled class variables from the referral source attribute. Under the referral source attribute, there are 4 classes that an individual can be divided into: college department invitation, emailed invitation, mailed invitation, and website. The goal is to classify new data into a referral source to identify where the respondent heard of the event. In order to create a classification model, we will import our dataset into RapidMiner. Then we will process the documents by creating a TF-IDF word vector and selecting the comment attribute. The comment attribute includes all of the text data a respondent includes in their survey. Then we will tokenize, transform cases, filter stop words, filter tokens by length, and stem. Then we will select the referral source as our predefined label class. Then we'll weight information by gain ratio, then select by weights by using the top K and selecting 15. Then we'll cross-validate by using the naive Bayes training model and then apply that model and performance for our testing set. The result of the process generates a model that can predict referral source at a 93.4% accuracy rate with new incoming data. It is important to see if referral source has any effect on donor giving. We can use this classification model to classify donors into referral source subpopulations and do further, more granular analysis within those subpopulations.
Hi, I'm Ping. Next, let me to give you the basic idea about association rules in our project. Association rule is a commonly used and supervised learning algorithm in data mining and machine learning. Unlike the previous classification, the main purpose of this kind of algorithms is to discover the correlation between the distinct structural feature of data. The primary goal is to find the correlation between each variable. And we depending on the RapidMiner to do the following process of association rules, and the variable is record type, score, city, state, and 80/90s donors records. Our data is not as easy as sales data to see that a transaction is a correlation of many items, but the slight change of perspective can still be treated like a sales data. For example, a feedback is a transaction. When collecting feedback information, it is often necessary to refer to the detailed information of activities. Each feedback regarded as the correlation regard type, such as the city, state, donation. Those feedback personal information can be regarded as items in a transaction. So the analysis of those data can get the following association rules. In Portland, Oregon, people who have a high evaluation score of the event have made donations. In this rule, it can seem that donation may be related to the location of the event in the evaluation and then make the next predictions. By changing different variables and constantly increasing lift and sport values, we can more clearly identify our research subjects and determine the key factors that affect their behavior. So, the practicability of association rules is mainly embodied in following two aspects. First, whether it has practical significance. For example, the association rules of donor and score. Secondly, whether it has gating significance, that is, to help us make valuable optimization on the basis of existing rules. So next, let my colleague to give you more information about our project.
K-means clustering is a useful unsupervised learning technique that groups otherwise undefined data into similar groups. This such clustering was thought to be helpful in understanding if there were common things donors enjoyed or despised so much that it impacted their future giving. The comments were split into two distinct groups in order to understand hot topics found within 1. Those who did not donate or decrease their donation amount compared to the previous year, and 2. Those who increased their donation amount from the previous year. To do so, two mostly identical processes were run using the process observed on the left, with the notable difference of different K values. Within the process documents from data operator on the right, the following were used: transform cases, tokenize, filter stop words, English, filter tokens by length with a minimum characters of 4 and maximum characters of 25, and stem snowball. The results on the left-hand side demonstrate the grouping of those who did not donate or decrease their donation amount over the year, with Cluster 2 being the largest with 416 items. We can see how important the overall experience is to donors, specifically the event, food, and program. Likewise, those who increased their donation had much smaller clusters, with the exception of Cluster 0, which had 197 items, describing attendees' appreciation and what a good time they had at the event. Not uncommon to other analysis done so far, cluster analysis appears to indicate that if a person is thankful and appreciative with the overall experience, food, and event held by OSUF, they are more likely to donate than someone who was not.
In conclusion, we've learned a great deal from these text-based analyses, including the importance of overall experience, location, and identity of participants. We have several recommendations, including focus on desirable locations such as Portland, continue to invest in premium event space, provide quality food served at an appropriate temperature. We also recommend that they go further and capture more event data, capture social media postings proactively, and use web scrapings to provide a rich context of all of the different ways that the OSU brand is being expressed and communicated with. We hope you've enjoyed our presentation, and we thank you for listening.